What's going on, Viking faithfuls? Kyle Smith here. This is the Purple People podcast. This is the Monday after a victory over the Carolina Panthers. We're going to talk a lot about that game. I am here with Mr. Adam Carlson.
I'm here.
What's going on, man? How are you?
I wasn't here last week. I was at the Green Bay Packers Minnesota Vikings game, which was one heck of a game, but I'm glad to be back here with you guys to talk some Minnesota Vikings football.
It's good time. Good to have you back, man. Kyle West is a little under the weather, so we wish you a speedy recovery, sir. I know we're talking to him right now, so he's doing okay, but not up to par. I think he's got a throat thing going on, which is
from what I understand, he can not really even talk at all.
I'm a little scratchy too. I was screaming my lungs out yesterday. I was at the Carolina Panther game, and man, I can't wait to tell you guys about my experience there. But let's jump right in. This is episode number 219, Happily Everson After.
All right.
Titled by Mr. Adam Carlson.
Stuff.
Jump right in, man. Before we get going into the quick hits, which we all love the quick hits, if you guys are taking your time out, and we thank you for listening to the show here, give the YouTube channel a like, youtube.com/Purple People Podcast. When we hit 1,000 subscribers, which I know we have more than 1,000 on this show, so if you can, and you will, go to YouTube and check it out. We are only going to upgrade the show more. We're finally doing video and live podcasting now, and it's only going to get better. It's going to be an upgrade. So if you guys would do that for us, we greatly appreciate it. We're going to give back to you and give you an even better show than we have. But with the plugging done, let's go into some quick hits of something that happened, some things that happened in the last week with the team. The first one, and it's so crazy to think about, Adrian Peterson, pretty much done for the regular season. There is not a timetable of return, but we making him back for the playoffs. He had his right meniscus was messed up in the Green Bay game last Sunday. He opted to do the longer, which I think was the smarter thing for his career, the longer surgery to go in and fully repair it rather than put a Band-Aid on it, metaphorically speaking. The estimated timetable of return, and we know Adrian's a freak of nature, so maybe he'll come back sooner, is 3 to 4 months. So that would put him right at the end of December and beginning of January, which I think we will go to the postseason. We might get him back then. But, he had surgery Thursday morning. Everything went according to plan. And the rumors that were circulating about it was, it's more than just a meniscus tear. There's this, there's this, there's this. For all the reports that I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, there was nothing extra going on. It was a clean meniscus injury. Everything was repaired, and now he's on the recovery process.
Oh, the reports going around were absolutely crazy. There were extra ligament tears. There was extra damage going in. There were awkward tears that would need long-term fixes. The rumors were just swirling everywhere, and it was an awful, awful mess trying to figure out what was real and what wasn't. Over on the Viking Age, I was getting bombarded with all this information, and some of it was from reliable sources saying that their sources had this information. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, okay, I'm not writing anything until this surgery is done and they tell us exactly what they did.
That was pretty crazy because Adrian's such a polarizing player, for mostly good, some bad reasons in the past. But, you can't deny it. The guy's going to go in the Hall of Fame. I predicted on the show a couple of months ago, if he can stay on the path, even though he's the dreaded 31, if he can stay on the path that he was going to crack into the top 10 in some records for all-time running backs. So it's a really big blow for his stats, but for the team, which we can get into this right now since we don't have that many quick hits to talk about. I don't think it's going to be as devastating for the team. Let's say if this was 2012, coached by Leslie Frazier and quarterbacked by Christian Ponder, we would not have had that year without Adrian. So I don't think it's as big of a blow to the team. It's no disrespect to him, but I do think the next man up mentality has really been embraced now that Mike Zimmer's came in. So we wish him a speedy recovery. We would love to have you back for the playoffs. I think he'll recover faster than the timetable because history says Adrian Peterson is a freak. But I don't think it's going to ruin our season, as some people predicted.
Now, Peterson will be eligible to return against the Arizona Cardinals later this season. But at that point, it would be amazing if he was ready. So what the Vikings want to do here is have him take his time, be 100%, so he can have a chance to come back and finish things out. If things get a little messy, the Vikings do have no guaranteed money with Adrian Peterson going into next season, which makes it a really interesting situation.
Yes.
Because if they don't have his salary and they don't have any salary from Matt Khalil, they will have a lot of cash to spend. But that's another show for another time. We'll be talking about all that
About to say,
this offseason. When the
we
Minnesota Vikings are 3-0 and we're sitting here talking about next year's salary cap, that's just not right.
yeah, we could go on for a couple of different branches of that story tree, but we'll save that one for it. Speaking of injuries and left tackles, you hit the next quick hit on the head. Matt Khalil is out for the season on IR with a hip injury, which I don't know about you, but I wasn't aware of that. I mean, he played in the game Sunday. He was getting murdered by Clay Matthews most of the game, but I had no idea that it was this serious, but he's been placed on IR. Which makes his situation kind of like Adrian's. You know, he's been up and down, kind of like Blair Walsh has as of recent. I don't know if he's going to be back next year, but TJ Clemmings got the call and said, hey, you're going to be the left tackle now. And he played yesterday, did pretty well. So
Khalil's been having some long-term problems, though. He had options to have surgery on both his knees this offseason, instead decided to go for platelet replacements procedures and try to heal it that way rather than go under the knife. And a lot of the times when you gamble with procedures like that, I understand not wanting to have the surgery and trying some other methods and all that kind of stuff. But all these injuries, the hip, the back, the knee, it all added up to a bad situation for Khalil. And even though he was the best option at left tackle, there's no way he would have been healthy enough to compete at a high level. I do want to take a moment to thank the people showing up in chat. Dorian Foley is here as usual with Tommy Gunn, who we love both those guys so much. R Class getting to be a regular here. We love seeing him. He believes it might be the last time we see Adrian Peterson play for the Vikings, as much as he hates to say it. Tommy Gunn's just here for the hot takes.
Hot takes from Tommy Gunn. What's going on, Dorian, too, man? I'm glad everybody got to comment and put their 2 cents in yesterday for the game, because I was
Stephen Osborne here as well, giving us a big skull.
It's a good time to be a Vikings fan.
Absolutely. Speaking of injuries, you were talking about hips. Another hip injury happened during the game on Sunday. Alex Boone left the game in the second quarter. He's having an MRI done today.
That was not fun, because you can tell the size of the players even from the nosebleeds I was at yesterday. Somebody next to me, not a Vikings fan, said, "Oh my God, is your quarterback down?" And I was like, "Excuse me." I was like, "No, that's definitely a 70. I believe he's 76." I was like, "That's a large man. That's an O lineman." And I was like, "Man, is that Boone? Damn it, that's Boone." I love his attitude.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Kyle West and I were talking about him earlier with some interesting comments he made about the home opener debut, yelling at the fans for being too loud. But I love the attitude that he brings, because
he was spot on about that, though.
Oh yeah.
When Packer fans are yelling and cheering, and Vikings fans are yelling back at those Packer fans to try to get them to quiet down and yelling, I'll say some homosexual slurs at them.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's not classy.
Yeah, I had a moment like that. We'll talk about it when the game comes around. But one of the Panther fans was being super obnoxious up top yesterday. I don't know if the little brewskis were involved, but we'll get back to that. The other quick hit that I had, I'm proud of myself for remembering these. In the wake of Adrian Peterson going down, the Vikings signed former Broncos running back Ronnie Hillman. I'm not for or against this acquisition. He did have some fumbling issues, but right when Peyton Manning was there, before I believe, God, I can't remember the other guy that they had. They've had a lot of running back by committee.
Oh yes,
going on there, but
C.J. Anderson and all these other guys going around.
He's still there. They've had a lot of different guys who've been successful, but that's just based on the type of offense that they run. Ronnie Hillman was a household name. I wouldn't say as of the last year or two he's been as popular. But I get it. I get the signing. I can't say that I'm for or against it. You know, you lose your starting running back unless you want to promote one of the guys from the practice squad, which I thought we had some good guys. But I get the signing. I just don't know if he's ever going to see the field, to be honest.
No, it's just insurance. Honestly, selfishly, I would have loved to have seen C.J. Ham get bumped up. Minnesota native. I'm from Duluth, just like him. Would have been pretty awesome to see. But you can't argue with wanting to bring in a veteran. Ronnie Hillman has had some success in the past. Yes, he has some issues as well, but honestly, what can you expect when you're looking for a running back 2 weeks into the season, you know?
Exactly.
Dorian Foley's wondering why the Vikings didn't bring back Jarrell Presley, and the reason for that is because he's a member of the Green Bay Packers.
Yes, he was signed. He was scooped up almost immediately when he was cut. So, yeah, same. That's a sigh of sadness and disappointment there.
Absolutely. Tommy Gunn wanted to add a little bit to the Matt Khalil injury, saying that TJ Clemmings stepping in at left tackle allowed only 2 hurries and 1 hit. Honestly, while we're talking about Clemmings, I just want to throw this in here. I expected that left side of the line to just road grade over everyone. I expected this to be the biggest run first team because of how pretty much everybody they have is either a right guard or a right tackle on the field. And then you got Boone's nastiness. And for Clemmings to come in and pass protect the way he did, to me, was the big surprise of the game.
Yep.
I was very concerned because as a right guard or as a right tackle, he struggled a lot against some of the top tier guys. He went up against Coney Ely in this game and was able to really control him. It looks like we were wrong about Presley. We got people in here saying that Presley was cut just before the Vikings game. That was when I was on vacation, so I didn't notice that. Thanks for the heads up.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, you know what? Sometimes you're wrong. Appreciate the looking out. But you got to think too. Not to discredit him, but there's a reason why he didn't make the practice squad too. So who knows? I don't know. I feel like it's apples or oranges here. You could pick him up. You could pick him up. One or the other has the pros and cons. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I hate to say it because you're not going to be going in and taking a majority of snaps from McKinnon and Asiata anyway. So
no, they're going to be that 2-headed attack. That's just the way it's going to work. We saw it before. It was effective. It's going to keep working that way.
I love it.
Let's keep talking about surgery. Sharif Floyd had surgery to clean up his knee a little bit. It shouldn't be a big procedure. Shouldn't miss a huge amount of time. He should be back in a couple of weeks.
Insert Tom Johnson.
Tom Johnson, man. The more you see of him, the more you got to love him, right?
Absolutely.
Stefon Diggs was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week for Week 2 against the Green Bay Packers, where he put on a show in prime time.
Yeah, congrats to Stefon. I mean, he's always played with a chip on his shoulder. He's always wanted to be a household name. And I think when you guys – I mean, we talked about this before. The first time I saw the kid, I was like, I don't like him. He's cocky. The more I listen to him, he believes in everything that comes out of his mouth. He's very confident, which wide receivers usually are. They usually all think they're the best in the league. But up until yesterday, I mean, the stats were out there. The yards, the receptions. I think him being injured was a blessing in disguise. I think it makes him being a 5th-round pick, I think it motivated him even more to be as good as he already thought he was. So congrats to him, man. I'm glad to see him take on some hardware. Hopefully it's the first of many.
I love when you've got wide receivers or cornerbacks with confidence.
Yes.
These guys, it can come across as cocky so often, and then you get the diva label and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there are definitely characters out there that have been in the NFL that were just larger than life, wanting to the media attention. Those guys are out there. But I don't think Stefon Diggs or even Mackenzie Alexander or a lot of these young guys on the team that are stepping in with this confidence and desire to just be the absolute best, I'm not quite ready to put them into that kind of level there. But man, to want to be the best is such an amazing thing. That desire to work hard, get things done, so great to see. Good to see James Sinks in here with us as well. We got quite a few people chatting, so it's always cool to come on in and invite your friends. We love talking Vikings football all the time.
Thank you guys for coming in, too. It's 1:30 Eastern on a Monday, so I know you guys probably could be working or hanging out or whatever you're doing. So thanks.
Yeah, it's an odd time.
Yeah. Well, we would love to have done it yesterday, but I was post-game happy, and I was getting home, and I was
working all day yesterday between football and The Walking Dead, man. Fear the Walking Dead. It was
That's
crazy.
you. And I'll be honest with you. I'll go ahead and here's your hot take, Tommy Gunn. I thought we were going to go to Carolina. I wouldn't say we were going to get worked, but I said it to a guy when we were going through security going in. I said, look, it's going to be a close game because the defenses are awesome. It's going to be 24-17. I think Carolina squeaks one out. I didn't have a single drop of beer during or after the game, and I was extremely happy because I kind of had it in the back of my head. I was like, I'm going to be so depressed my first game. I'm going to have to walk out of there in a purple shirt. Everybody's going to be jawing at me. It didn't happen that way, so it was pretty nice.
I want to add one more note about the injured reserve thing. Both Adrian Peterson and Matt Khalil placed on injured reserve. Now, there are some different rules about injured reserve this year. You no longer have to designate a specific player to return, but you can only still use it once, I believe.
That's interesting.
So they didn't have to designate Adrian Peterson to return because they can make that decision later. There were a lot of weird little small changes like that came through. Another one was that probable was no longer included on injury reports.
Right.
I learned that this year, so that was interesting.
Which is crazy because you had so many different labels. I like that they took that out. It does leave more up in the air now. I think it goes to questionable or whatever. But yeah, I didn't know the first one you were talking about that you didn't have to designate. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're able to make that designation later, so that's pretty cool. Tommy Gunn wants to point out what the Vikings defense did to Aaron Rodgers last week and the NFL MVP this week. Next week's going to be tough, though. The Giants are a tough task, man. But we got to figure out a way. We got to start a fundraiser to get Kyle West in that stadium because so far, Pro Football Podcast at each game has been doing pretty good.
That was a solid point from Tommy Gunn earlier. We've all been to the first 3 games, each one of us individually. So now if we can keep it going, we'll just go undefeated and we'll finally get a Super Bowl win, apparently.
That would be pretty nice, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
All right, game ball and donkey time. Were you able to get some game balls and donkeys from Kyle West, or was he out of it?
I'll go on his behalf to start. So we went back and forth on this. I'm gonna get flack because I always do when I give it out to multiple people. But Kyle West wanted to give it to Danielle Hunter. I was there at the game. I can't wait to talk about it in a minute. Danielle Hunter is just week by week. I don't know how he does it. He just keeps getting better and keep proving that when Brian Robinson finally slips back into the not starting role, this guy's going to dominate. He's a freak of nature. He's physical, but there was a shift in the game yesterday. So I was there. I'll do just a little bit about the game. The first quarter was all Panthers. I mean, the scoreboard doesn't lie. We didn't score. They're up 10-0. And I was getting bummed out because I was like, man, they're just going to pick right back up where they left off. And then there was a shift. Danielle Hunter getting that safety was the beginning of the end for the Panthers. And it was early on. I think it was the second quarter, early in the second quarter. But it pushed Cam back. Wasn't really a hard takedown or anything, but that's a solid pick because Danielle Hunter was one of many people who were in Cam Newton's face yesterday. So for Kyle West, it was Danielle Hunter. I'll let you go next for your game ball.
You told me who you're picking, and I don't want to pick that same guy.
I'll put it in the notes, so you can go with whoever you want.
So I'm going to go with Tom Johnson stepping in. He's always been this guy that's been a reserve fringe level starter in the NFL. He came in, had a nice interception as well as a fumble recovery. This guy is such a heads-up player, and anytime you can step him in and get him some action, it's a very positive thing. Tom Johnson had 2 tackles, passed the interception. He was able to plug up the middle and help take away what is usually a pounding Green Bay Packers. See, I'm still at the Packer game in my head.
That's fantastic.
But Packers, Panthers, I can see how I can make that mistake. But yeah, that Panthers offense usually just pounds defenses into submission. And this Minnesota Vikings front line, that defensive line, Tom Johnson, Linval Joseph, right there in the middle, they were excellent at keeping things very, very level-headed in the middle, not giving up too much. When you look at the running game for the Panthers, 105 yards on the ground, for them, that's very disappointing.
It is, and I was watching Colin Cowherd today, hoping that he would talk about this game, and he brought Howie Long on, and the first thing he talked about was are we not giving Minnesota credit, or are the Panthers just not as good? And they said, look, it's both. And it said, the Panthers' game plan is to ground and pound and beat you up. And once you start giving up interiorly, I don't know if that's a word, they're going to start throwing bombs because Cam Newton can. And, oh, by the way, he's their third running back at any given point in time. That's just not what happened yesterday. They were not letting the running backs break it off with those big chunks of yardage. They weren't scared to go in and make tackles. And then you get to get around and start collapsing the pocket to frustrate Cam. And to segue into mine, I really wanted to give it to one player. Adam Carlson, you can virtually smack me for it. The defense as a whole, you guys have dinner on me because you guys were amazing yesterday. I'm going to go through a couple quick stats because that's who my game ball is going to. The defensive side of the ball played amazing yesterday. Harrison Smith had a sack. He was the tackle leader yesterday with 6. Everson Griffin had 3 sacks. Anthony Barr, Linval Joseph, Brian Robinson, and Daniel Hunter all had a sack individually. And then that's 8 sacks on the quarterback yesterday, which is crazy. But then you're looking at the interceptions yesterday. Terrence Newman, Trey Waynes, and Mr. Tom Johnson, who Adam Carlson gave the game ball to.
I do like Tom Johnson.
I love it. 8 sacks, 3 interceptions. I mean, I can't tell you how many hurries. It was crazy yesterday how much pressure they put on Cam. And I'm not gonna lie, man. You don't like playing Aaron Rodgers twice a year. You know you can get some pressure on him because we usually always sack him a couple of times. But Cam Newton's a different beast. And the fun fact of the day, this is why I gave it number 1, why I gave the defense as a whole my game ball. They haven't lost at home in 14 games. That was an amazing stat because that's all they talked about pregame yesterday. We're on a 14-game winning streak at home. Blah, 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 this and that. And I'm so glad that we got to take that away from them. So on the other side of that, switching around, and we can kind of put them both together. I don't know if yours is the same. Kyle West and I both picked Blair Walsh. Something's got to give with him missing extra points and or field goals. I'm going to tell you an interesting thing, which I didn't expect to hear yesterday. On the way home, traffic's horrible out there. Got a lot of time to sit around and let the city, exit from the stadium. And I'm listening to the post-game presser, and they asked Mike Zimmer, they were like, did you run that 2-point conversion because you didn't want Blair to kick? And you can go listen to it on Vikings.com right now. He said, I probably shouldn't say this, but that's why I went for 2. Blair was – I don't know. Blair's got to get it figured out. I don't think that guy's going to have a job next year. I'm telling you. And I hate that for him because we're going to have to bring someone in. But the inconsistency every game, it's gotten to the point where we're not talking about Seattle anymore because he's good. We're talking about every time that he comes up here, I wonder if he's going to make it or not. And these – I'm not going to say these are chip shots. Obviously, 20, 30, 40-yard field goals or extra points, whatever. It's a fair distance. But it's getting to the point where we almost expect him to miss because he's done it so often since the Seattle game. He's got to get it figured out like yesterday.
Absolutely. And when I'm looking up and down the performances from the game, I'm just struggling to find a place to throw a game ball down. In my heart, I'm looking at this and I want to give it to Jerick McKinnon, but I know how smothering that Panthers defense is and how hard it is to get going on the ground. They're just too smart of a team. I could give it to Kyle Rudolph for that big drop in the end zone.
Yep. I think that the one thing that you got to think too yesterday is, aside from Denver, I still put Carolina in the top 3 or 4 of the defenses. Their linebackers and their D-line, they're absolutely outstanding. They did have some rookie corners, which I really wish we could have exposed a little bit more. They did hold Stefon Diggs in check, but that was kind of expected, especially after the weeks he's been having. But their linebackers, man, Luke Kuechly, that guy's a freak of nature.
My donkey goes to Marcus Sherrills for not bringing 2 back to the house.
Fun fact, everyone, because we're going to talk about this game. If you guys haven't checked it out, this is a good way to bring it in. Check out the videos and the pictures I posted yesterday. I got 2 of the sacks, one from, I believe, Anthony Barr, one of Everson Griffin's 3 sacks yesterday. They were on my side of the field, and I could have gotten that damn punt return on video, and I didn't. And I don't remember. I don't know why I put my phone down because I got a new phone. I've got a little battery case or whatever. I could have filmed the whole game yesterday if I really wanted to, but Yeah, that was pretty good. Heads up from Marcus Sherrills randomly coming in every 3 weeks and making his name relevant again. Like, why is he on the team? Oh, that's why. Okay.
Special teams contributors usually get no love unless they make the big plays. And for
Yep.
return men, it's fantastic when you can bring one back to the house. He usually has very high averages for returns,
Yep.
doesn't muff a lot of kicks, makes big plays as a gunner sometimes, which was interesting to see Cordero Patterson in as a gunner on some of those
Amazing
plays.
yesterday. Amazing.
Now, I like that the Vikings are trying to get him more involved in other ways because he needs to prove his value on teams. And he got down that field so fast, the returner didn't even know that he was going to be there.
It was amazing. It was almost crazy because I was like, oh my God, did he call a fair catch? Because I'm watching Cordero run and I'm trying to see which way the special teams are going to shift, what kind of holes they're going to make for him. And then I see Cordero come, and I think it was Ted Ginn because everyone was pissed at Ted Ginn yesterday because he either didn't catch it or he was going to take a knee or whatever else, in the back of the end zone. And he finally took one, and Cordero just lights him up. And I was like, okay, there you go. And this one thing you got to love about Cordero. Sometimes it's negative, like the Seattle game last year. When you score the only touchdown, don't celebrate, man. Come on, we're getting killed. But, he comes off the field, he's hyped, and he gets all his teammates hyped up. And like you said, special teams doesn't get a lot of love. So I was pretty excited to see special teams play pretty good yesterday.
Let's talk about Ted Ginn for a second because he presented a really unique challenge for the Vikings defense.
Yes.
Ginn has this unique speed and acceleration combination that make him very hard for anyone to keep up with. Terrence Newman is not known as being a speedy cornerback. He's efficient. He plays smart coverage, but as far as keeping up with someone sprinting down the field, it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Waynes, love the kid. He's still trying to come into his own. He's still having problems being a little handsy sometimes, knowing when he can and when he can't be more physical than usual. And, of course, Xavier Rhodes got his first action back, and he didn't look like he was ready to come back yet, to be honest.
Not at all. He was cramping. Everybody was cramping at the end. It was so hot outside, too. But
Ginn was able to break through and open up the defense early with those passes deep. And I really thought that was going to open up the run game more, and then the Panthers were going to start gashing everyone. And early on, it gave it that look that this game was going to be out of reach.
100%. And that was what I posted on the page. The deep balls killed us early. Ted Ginn was to blame. Fun fact of the day, though, because we're all going to talk about it. I mean, obviously we won, but Mr. Kelvin Benjamin was back. And he's not on the stat sheet because he didn't catch one ball yesterday. Shout out.
One target, 0 catches.
It was crazy. And I don't know why Cam wouldn't rely on him more. I guess he thought that we were going to hone in on Benjamin like they honed in on Stefon Diggs. But he didn't. He's not on the stat sheet. And that's something to be said. I think that was a little poor on Cam's decision-making too. But
I think they really wanted to take advantage of that speed situation with Ted Ginn. I really think that they thought they could just sprint all over the Vikings defense, who aren't really known for speed. I really believe that was their major attack since they didn't have their starting running back.
Right. Yep. Ted Ginn was all over the place. Funchess made a couple of good catches. Greg Olson's always there. He's a very, I don't want to say he's underrated, but he's not a Rob Gronkowski household name. Greg Olson's an amazing tight end. I couldn't get over the fact that Ginn was targeted so much. But eventually that came back around in the game to burn Cam Newton for kids. He kept relying on him because Ginn and Funchess, between them, they aren't Chris Carter Shore as far as catches goes. And I've known it because it's my family's team, it's my hometown team. I always know more about the Panthers than I think I should. They do drop the ball sometimes. They had some key drops on drives, I think second or third down that they should have made. And just like last week with Trey Waynes getting picked on by Aaron Rodgers, you target him so many times. Terrence Newman was getting picked on yesterday because he's the dinosaur of the team. And he came up with a clutch pick. I mean, you're going to try him so many times, eventually he's going to get an opportunity. So I obviously I'm happy it happened, but I was kind of surprised to see that it turned out that way. I figured he would spread the ball around or at least attempt Benjamin more. That was the biggest surprise for me.
Tommy Gunn again made a pretty good note in the chat here. He said that Ted Ginn is a 50-50 ball catcher. I'll say a little over 50-50, but I get what you're trying to say. His hands are definitely not the most reliable, and that's whether he's contested or open. He
Mhm.
has drop issues, and the reason he is on the team in Carolina is because of his speed. He can
Yep,
get open.
100%. I've already talked about him once, but just to see Luke Kuechly play in person, to switch to their defense, Jesus, man, that guy's scary. And they have some good linemen too. Star Lutulele, Coney Ely, Thomas Davis is a fantastic linebacker. Luke is the household name, but Thomas Davis is a monster too. They lost Josh Norman over the course of the offseason to Washington, but they had two rookies in. Bradbury's very good. He's very underrated. He was the one who's paired up against Stefon Diggs for most of the day. He played really well considering, the shiftiness that Diggs has. But, man, that defense, man, they had a little subpar day compared to what they're used to, but they still made their presence felt every so often, especially Luke Kuechly, man. Hats off to Carolina. That's their star player.
We got a lot of comments about the offense in the chat right now going on. We got Sinks and Osborne and others talking about Andre Smith struggling at right tackle. I do believe that was the weak point on the offensive line, letting the pressure through, especially early. We knew when he came to the Vikings that he was there. Well, we were hoping he was there for competition and depth. And as soon as Lodeholt retired and he was left for the role, there was a lot of curiosity as to how he would be able to act as a starter. Because let's be honest, when he was in Cincinnati, he had some good seasons early on, and that kind of faded off. Right now, I'm not sure what to think about him. I want to see a couple more games from him. I want to see him continue to grow and develop. And with this roster, I understand that he's a veteran and he's probably pretty set in his ways. But I do think that with some time meshing with this offensive line, he can be better eventually, and I'm hoping to see that happen. But it would take something kind of special. I know Sperano's been working with all those guys, so hopefully they can get something working.
Yeah, he's. I hate to say it, but he's kind of just given that role because of Phil leaving, and
Yeah.
Phil's got to do what's best for him. So we weren't that upset. We understand we're selfish, but that, and then you would hope that T.J. Clemmings could have done it, and now Matt Khalil's gone. I mean, you just got to do what you can with what you have. And I know this is a terrible comparison, but I'm sitting here looking at my new phone. A lot of people said this about us. We were excited that the offensive line was upgraded. I feel like with the guys that we have, because some of them are a little past their prime, like Alex Boone in 2012, one of the nastiest O-linemen that you could get around. It's a couple years later. I'm not saying he's dropped off that much, but I feel like this O-line is made with young enough players who haven't proven their value yet, or guys that are a little past when they used to be super, super relevant. It's kind of like when you got the iPhone 7 of the world, but you just got a new iPhone 6. You know what I mean? I feel like that's like a decent comparison to our line. You just got to they get the job done, but you definitely see areas, especially on the right side, but like you were saying, where you wish you could upgrade. But it comes back to any position. Who are you going to find out on the street right now that's better than Andre Smith? You're probably not.
Stephen Osborne wants to know if a right tackle should be on the slate at the draft next year. And as we've learned from the Vikings, they are going to go by their best overall chart unless there's a position that is in desperate need, and then they might reach a bit. I don't think the Vikings are going to reach for a right tackle.
I don't think they'll reach for a right tackle. I think a left tackle might be more in the area that they might look. But I'm not going to say, oh, that's a surefire lock. We're going to go after a left tackle at whatever position we draft. They would never give that away anyways. But I don't think it's the number one absolute need.
No, they're going to look and they're going to see, okay, is there a left tackle? Is there a right tackle? Is there a safety? What do we have available here? Is there a premier running back that's going to drop to us that we can maybe pair with Jerick McKinnon next year? The options are going to be so wide open, and with this defense having so many key pieces all over, the offense having a lot of star players as well, stepping up. I do believe that this could be one of the most unpredictable drafts coming up for the Vikings ever.
It could, and I'm thinking of so many options. I think we know what our quarterback situation is for 1 and 2. I think Adrian Peterson's a huge question mark. I think we're pretty set at wide receiver unless somebody just falls in our lap. You got to think about. I think our tight end depth is pretty good as well. Line. I mean, you could start anywhere on the line you want. Could you upgrade? Sure. Is it going to be a value? That's another thing you got to think about. With people like Cordero Patterson, who was definitely a reach, we all agree on that. We won't say he's a bust yet, even though some of us have opinions on it. He was a reach. You don't want to reach anymore. Rick Spielman wants to be remembered for how many great players he drafted, not because of 1 or 2 reaches or busts that he had. So you want to make sure the value is there for where you're at. And if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say we're in the 20s again. I'm going to say we're in the 20s in the draft. Is there going to be a left tackle available at 23, 24, 25? And that's the other thing you got to think about. Where are we going to be at in this draft? Because a lot of the time, the linemen that come out, they're in the top 10. You're not going to find a really, really good lineman in the later 20s of the first round of the draft. They're probably going to have a second round.
Well, the Vikings don't even have a first rounder, so that's.
Yeah, you know what? Solid point. I totally muffed that one. So there you go. Probably not going to find your starting new left tackle.
But Tampa Bay took a kicker in the second round this year, so who knows?
That's paying off horribly for them. He is
bad.
Oh man, glad we didn't do that one at least.
So who knows? We could even see a kicker in the second round next year. You never know.
Oh man, that's a whole situation to talk about too. Kicking situation.
Sam Bradford again, a pretty high percentage game, 18 for 28, 171 yards, 1 touchdown, sacked twice. Overall, this is pretty much a game managing game. He took what the defense gave him. He didn't take too many chances. He relied on field position from defense and special teams.
Yep.
And he had a really hard time getting going.
Yeah, the first 2 quarters were absolutely it was disappointing. The crowd was great for Carolina yesterday. They were very sputtery, and it's I'm an honest man. I'm not going to tell you I didn't think. I was like, man, was that Green Bay game a fluke 2 quarters in? Because I was like, some of the balls were in front of or to the right of Stefon Diggs. He was targeting him early. He was getting hurried because their defense is great, and I will never, ever use anything from our rivals in the state next to us, but one of their star players told their fans to relax last year. I think that was an overwhelming point yesterday. And the biggest takeaway of the overall game, no individual player or whatever, everybody stayed calm. Everybody stayed poised. And I said that when we went to halftime, it was 10-2, I believe, at the half. I was like, there's still a lot of football to be left, and we're down by 1 score. Just take it. Keep your head together. Keep your composure together. And that's the number one thing that showed yesterday. If you can ride out the full 60 minutes, things will go your way if you stick to what you know and what you're good at. And that's exactly what happened. But you're right about Bradford. Cool stat about Bradford that I said yesterday, and somebody said, holy crap, 2 games in, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with that. That's totally fine with me. But
it's all about efficiency with him. It is.
You're right, though. He did have to rely a little bit on the defense to come in and make it. And it's not going to be like that every single game. I think this defense is elite. Not just good, not just great. I think this is an elite level defense. But that can't become a habit that starts to form. Oh, no, cool. The defense will bail me out and they'll get me at the 40. No, not going to work that way.
Tennessee has a streaky offense, but then when you look at the Green Bay Packers offense, which many call one of the most dangerous in the league.
Yes.
You got Carolina Panthers, where the quarterback's the MVP. Yes. They've got amazing targets for receivers.
3 scrambling quarterbacks.
The fact that the Minnesota Vikings defense was able to come out, hold these teams in check for the most part, and allow their offense to do what was necessary to win. The defense and the special teams and the offense are a triangle. They are. Sometimes a triangle, the sides aren't the same length. It happens that way.
Yep.
There have been games where the Vikings offense just is that little side of the triangle. But no matter what, the triangle is complete. Special teams stepped up in this one in a big way. Defense, just an amazing game. 8 sacks, 3 interceptions. I believe a fumble recovery, just completely dismantled this team.
And it speaks to it. I hate to rely on last year, and I hate to do it, but these guys were in the Super Bowl. These guys represented the NFC in the Super Bowl. They were not a team to be messed with last year. One loss in the regular season, and then they lost in the Super Bowl. That was a fantastic team one season ago. Things have shifted and changed a little bit. Most people wouldn't have predicted us being undefeated and then being 1-2 right now, but they're still a good team. I still believe they're going to be in the postseason. We might actually play them in the postseason. So nobody to sleep on, but yeah, it was definitely surprising how good the defense just came in and just pretty much imposed their will starting after the first quarter.
There aren't many teams that can lose their starting quarterback, starting running back, starting left tackle, starting center, starting right tackle, starting defensive tackle, and cornerback for as long as the Vikings have, and still been just absolutely dominant on occasions. It's amazing.
It's team football, and the best thing that I watched from, aside from Mike Zimmer throwing a little bit of shade at Blair Walsh, telling him he needs to make kicks, he said, you know what this team does that I love, and I told them if they do that, it'll be a success. Nobody goes out here looking for a record or team or individual stats. If you make the sacrifice to do your job and to make sure the team gets a win, the whole unit is going to keep going forward in the win column. And now everybody, it seems like, I think everybody looking at the last 2 years, and then, obviously this season will be the third, you can definitely see that they've bought in on that. Captain Munnerlyn's a fine example. I mean, he came from Carolina. First year, he wasn't garbage, but he definitely wasn't up to his par. I was like, why did we trade for this guy? Why did we pick this guy up? And when you lose that selfishness and you start buying in with a coach like Zim, I mean, the team works together as a unit amazingly, especially on the defense. But fun thing today, Tommy Gunn, this one's for you. Here's one hot take, because I've got a really bold statement in a couple minutes when we talk about that to end the show. Colin Cowherd, one of my favorite guys in sports radio, sports television, said today that he put out stats out there. The quarterback ratings go up every year, and they set a new record. It's an offensive league. And he starts naming all his coaches. He's like, yeah, look at this coach. They're terrible, and they're all defensive-minded, blah, blah. And he made a weird kind of contorted and twisted point about Denver. I mean, Trevor Simeon's not the future. He's not Peyton Manning. Let's be real. Like, he might be their franchise guy, but he hasn't proven anything to me or anybody else yet. But he made all these points to say, if you're an offensive coach and you take care of your quarterback, you're in the right. And I'm thinking, Mike Zimmer was in the talk for Coach of the Year last year, certainly in the conversation early this year. You don't have to be an offensive coach. You don't have to do that. I mean, if anybody's a prime example of you don't have to be an offensive team, I think we're in the category for that. So it's not true, and I'm calling him out for that.
The Vikings are different, though, because Zimmer is the defense. He might as well be the head coach / defensive coordinator.
He should.
Now, when you look at the offense, the Vikings have applied plenty of coaches to the offense. They brought in special coordinators. They brought in the new quarterbacks coaches to match with the system and everything. The Vikings more than handled what they want from this offense, and I don't know if the system that is in place best matches with what's going on with the defense. But Sam Bradford is probably the closest guy they've got to a quarterback that fits the system that's in place. It was tailored pretty well to Teddy Bridgewater, but where Bridgewater had that little bit more mobile ability to keep plays alive and step up through the pocket, Bradford has more of that big arm to be able to make teams pay for playing close to the line. So offensively, I'm excited to see where these coaches do what they do. And I do think Colin Cowherd was a little bit off the mark when he talks about head coaches, because supporting staff and those other guys around there are just so important.
Yeah, and I mean, he made that point too about college football. He's talking about Notre Dame. You can have a great head coach, but have a crappy coordinator and make your name look a little worse than it should. But I didn't buy into that. When you invest if it's a rebuild year, you give that team that season like, hey, we're not expecting to go in and have a positive year. But Mike Zimmer this is not an offensive team, like 100%. And I'm going to knock on wood when I say this. We're in the talks right now, and it's 3 games, and I get it. We're talking about Super Bowl right now. You have to take a look and give respect to that side. I know the league's like a passing and a quarterback league now, but you can't look at what the defense is doing right now. You can't discredit them with that.
Now, back to that Coward statement for a minute, because I think that a lot of that had to do with him taking a look at these young quarterbacks and seeing that the majority of the ones that are being successful have teams that have coaching staffs where the head coach are offensive. And I think that's more of a coaching trend
Yes.
than a relationship between the quarterback and the head coach,
Mm-hmm.
because I think most teams right now are going out looking for the offensive coordinator to become a head coach, and we see that all over the NFL. Vikings fans fell into that too. A lot of them wanted Shanahan, or you know, not Shanahan, but who's the one that ended up in Washington?
Gruden.
Yeah, they wanted Jay Gruden.
Yeah, no. No, no. And especially when you start listening around the league, Mike Zimmer should have had a job 7 years ago. I mean,
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I totally understand it, but you also it's a two-headed monster. You have to have that quarterback in place that once he starts to grow, like Andrew Luck. I guarantee you that Andrew Luck is a free agent right now. I'm guaranteeing you at least every team is at least interested, either for the future or to come in and steal somebody's job right now because he's that good. But you got to have the pieces with you. You can have an offensive coach and a great coordinator all day long, but if you have Josh McCown for 3 years, you're not going to be going as far as you could if you had an Andrew Luck or Blake Bortles or somebody who could chuck the ball over the field. You know what I mean? So I get it. I like what Zimmer does. I know that I think personally last year I think they had the training wheels on Teddy, which is fine because I think he needed it for the most part. But
Right.
I think that he still supports the quarterback. He's never said a bad thing about him. I just don't think this team is built that way.
Tommy Gunn says that it's because Mike Zimmer knows offenses so well that he's good at making defenses to stop them. It's a good point. We got Stephen Osborne here looking forward to the Monday night game. He believes that Manning won't be able to handle the pass rush, which could very well be the truth, because let's talk about that pass rush for a second. We got Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter, Brian Robinson, and these guys in the middle clogging everything up, pushing through. They made Cam Newton's day hard.
They did. It was crazy because, like I said a year ago, he's MVP. He had a phenomenal season, but when you're getting pushed around and you're getting hurried, it's not going to be a fun day for you.
No, not at all. Defensively, there were a couple of performances that need to be looked at a little bit. Eric Kendricks, 12 tackles on the day. He was flying all over the field. Captain Munnerlyn doing the same thing, just everywhere. Sendejo had a couple spots where he was out of position early on, but he tightened that up. Everything came together. Watching Harrison Smith is unbelievable.
He's a monster. It's one of the first things my brother said. My brother is not a Vikings fan. He's an honorary fan at the game yesterday, but he said, "Man, I'm so glad you guys paid that guy." I said, "Me too."
Danielle Hunter is going to get paid.
Yep.
And it's going to be another situation where Hunter was a rotational guy, so his stats aren't unbelievable. He's going to get a big contract. He's going to be, top 10 paid defensive end in the NFL. And it's going to be another situation where, like Forbes, when Griffin got signed, Forbes said that Everson Griffin was the most overpaid man in the NFL. Because they didn't watch him play. They had no clue who he was. Just because you don't know who someone is doesn't mean they're bad.
It's just like anything. That's a world statement right there. That's people being ignorant. Oh man, I don't know what you are. I don't like you. Well, do some research first. I bet you eat those words now, Ford.
Good old Forbes. You gotta love it.
Freaking monster. Man. What are you guys talking about? Just give me 1 second. I don't want my computer to crap out on you guys during the middle of the show.
Oh no. I want to give a little bit of love to Jeff Locke, who had some very nice punts during the game. Gave the Vikings great field position. Locke continues to improve after this new technique. I like what I'm seeing from him going forward. I know that he still has some room to go as far as consistency, but the punting game's looking much better. Returns, we're looking at some pretty good ones here. We got Marcus Sherrills with the 2 returns for 58 yards. Cordero Patterson only got to bring 2 out. And that's kind of a concern. I understand wanting to roll the dice because Patterson is a threat to bring the ball to the house every time. But if he can't get out to the 25, there might be situations where he can look and see, okay, I'm not going to get very far. Because right now he's that kind of ballsy return man where even if he looks and sees everybody out in front of him, he's still going to give it a try and run.
That too, and the thing that shifts, a lot of you guys might not even notice it. I noticed it the first game watching the Panthers play the Broncos. We start on the 25 now with touchbacks, not the 20. Another
Right.
rule change, better field position. It's a really big – they're going to do away with kickoffs within the next 10 years. If
It keeps inching towards that.
And I hate it because I think it's one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting part of the game when you take one back or when you get an 80-yard return. It's awesome that way. But
Do you know the only reason kickoffs still exist in the NFL? And this is just my theory completely.
what's that?
My theory on kickoffs is that they only exist so that they can go to a commercial break after the touchdown, have the kickoff, and come back and have another commercial break.
That's fat. Dude, I believe it. TV owns football. It's those mega contracts. That is a fantastic. That's a hot take of the month right there. It's a fantastic idea.
Because I do believe they want to eliminate the big collisions on the hits.
Yes.
And I think that they want to try to cover their butt when it comes to concussion-related issues and all that.
Right.
But, man, they don't want to give up that money.
No, the money's fantastic. That's a solid point. Speaking of concussions, here's a little off-topic conversation I had with a fan yesterday up in the nosebleeds. You notice that they've been protecting the head a lot more since the lawsuit, and everyone's coming out that used to play and they have head issues. You notice what we have a ton of this year, and it's just going to get worse? Tons of knee and lower body injuries.
Knee and hip.
It's crazy. Yeah, and I know that it's
at least it's not pecs anymore. It's moving down.
No, God, I'm glad we got rid of our strength and conditioning guy. Good Lord, man. Yeah, that's crazy. And you're going to have to pick one or the other. I guess they would rather have people blow their knees out than have concussions 18 times in 5 years. So let's shift this towards next week so I can get this bold statement out because I'm really excited to say this.
You're itching for it. I can see it.
And this game against the Giants, and I know we played them on Monday night last year. We kicked the crap. We put 48 points on them. That is not going to happen this year. They have spent millions upon millions to improve the defense. And if you remember last year's game, Odell Beckham and Josh Norman got into it the week before, so he was suspended. ODB is going to be there. Victor Cruz is healthy again. He actually won a game for him the first week. Eli Manning, when he's upright, dude, he's just like Joe Flacco. When he plays well, he's underrated. Everybody likes to crap on him when he plays bad. They have the defense now to compete. This is going to be a tough game. When I initially saw the schedule, I was like, it's at home, we'll win. I'm not going to say we're not going to win. I do believe we'll win. But
both sides have great reasons to believe they can win this game.
And the Giants are up and coming. Now, the thing that gives me even more confidence than I already had, they did lose to the Redskins at home yesterday. The Redskins are as much of a roller coaster, crappy team out there, in my opinion, as anybody could be. And I don't think they had any business in the playoffs last year. But that's another story. But, yeah, the Giants have upgraded majorly because last year, and Teddy was quarterbacking. Pass rush was not a factor.
The Giants' offensive line still isn't very good. They have a lot of young, experienced guys in the secondary, and I think Bradford will be able to work that pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem comes back to covering these wide receivers. I love the guys the Vikings have. I do. But asking Terrence Newman to keep up with Victor Cruz, I don't know. I haven't gotten to see Victor Cruz much this year to see if he's still the speedster he was.
I hope it's Terrence Newman and Victor Cruz because if it's Terrence Newman on Odell Beckham, I'm going to cry already. I think Xavier or Trey needs to be out there running around with him.
It's going to be a long day, and hopefully they can get some help. But it's going to come down to the defense and the special teams again because I don't know how much the Vikings are going to be able to get going on the ground. I think that the Vikings will be able to pick up some first downs through the air.
Right.
But I don't know. It's going to be one heck of a game. It's going to be great to watch. My major issue with it that I don't like is I hate Sunday night games for the Vikings because now I have to work and watch the Vikings game, and then I've got to turn around and I've got to stay up till almost 3 a.m. to watch the replay of Fear the Walking Dead so I can do that.
I believe it's a Monday night game. Let me check. I'm opening the Vikings app right now. Monday, October 3rd. Yeah. So
it's Monday?
It's a Monday night game.
Oh, so thank goodness.
It's actually an extra day of rest, which I'm all for, which means we're going to have a Thursday night somewhere coming along. But I think we have another primetime game. We have like 4 primetime games. This is number 2.
Probably get flexed into one as well.
That's pretty sweet, man. That's how you know this team is doing well when we keep getting all these primetime spots.
But yeah, this game against the Giants should be a pretty good one. I'm gonna look and see here. Grizzly Wolf says they've got the wide receiver Shepard as well. Tommy Gunn says NFC East rivalry games have gone to the visiting team for 15 straight games. That's a crazy fact. And I'll be one of those guys to just say I am not a fan of the NFC East.
Hey, if Philly's 3-0 and they waxed the Steelers yesterday, don't sleep on Philadelphia. That's going to be a hard game. We go to Philadelphia this year, so it's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. They say that we got the Philly game, or the Thanksgiving Day game at Detroit. Which okay, that's the other one. Is that a primetime game? I thought that one was earlier.
I think it'll be earlier because it's Detroit. No offense to Detroit, we're obviously the better team, but I don't think that'll be a primetime. They usually do like the Cowboys or something on Thanksgiving playing someone just because.
Yeah, Cowboys, Lions, and they started a tradition with someone else anyway.
I know we play the NFC East. It might be the old school game. It might be the Cowboys and the Packers that night because I know they'll play each other. Because we are playing the East this year, so maybe that might be it. But I'm going to go straight into it. I'm going to piss a lot of people off at this, but let's be realistic. First off, shout out to the MVP of yesterday and today, my Minnesota Viking Nikes. I just wanted to show you guys those. I wore those to the game yesterday along with the North is on Lock t-shirt. Rocking those today. I wanted to bring those in somehow.
Oh, yeah.
So we have an interesting situation that we are going to encounter. I don't believe Teddy Bridgewater is going to be ready come week 1 next year. I think he'll be rehabbed. I think he'll still have the strength built up. I think he's going to want to get back into building chemistry.
Phone's going wild.
This is very, very iffy because we're only a quarter away in the season come Monday. If Sam Bradford keeps playing like this, Teddy Bridgewater is going to have to be the backup. I don't like that Bradford has had ACLs. I mean, that's the biggest thing that concerns me with Bradford. It's not his talent. Can he stay upright? Can he stay healthy? And that's a big issue. But now Teddy's going to be in that conversation because he went down with a non-contact. But if we go to the playoffs this year, which we're on the right track because we're 3-0 for the first time since we had that glorious 2009 season, if we go to the postseason, and God, we win a game or two, win them all. I don't care. Let's win them all. But what do you do when you come with Teddy Bridgewater coming back? Do you just give it back to Teddy? And I say, hell no. And I love Teddy. I love the kid to death. Like we said earlier, I felt like I was cheating on him last week.
A lot can happen between now and then.
A lot can go down, but there's your bold statement for the week. If Sam Bradford ends up panning out, I have no problem with saying Teddy Bridgewater's a backup. He's very capable. Obviously, he helped win us the division last year. But, man, this Bradford trade week to week starting to look like it makes a lot of sense. And you remember the uproar that came. I was one of those guys. Like, what the hell are you thinking giving up a first round? If this ends up working out, we're going to have probably the worst situation on our hands. So keep that in mind, people. Let's pray this guy stays upright because he's showing that this is the best team he's ever been on. We all agree on that. So I'm just excited to see what he can do. I hope he stays upright and does everything he needs to do health-wise to stay prepared. But, man, that's going to be an interesting topic a year from now.
There are only 5 undefeated teams left in the NFL already.
Yep, the Eagles, the Patriots, us. Are the Texans undefeated?
No.
No? Who are the other 2?
Oh, now you're calling me out here.
I know the Pats are undefeated with like 18 different quarterbacks playing, which is unreal. We're undefeated.
Eagles, Broncos.
The Broncos, of course.
The Ravens is the one that surprised me.
They haven't played anybody yet. They'll lose.
Yep, otherwise then it's the Vikings and Eagles. Yep.
Man, watch out for those Philadelphia Eagles. I never thought I'd say that coming into the year with a rookie quarterback. They just seem to have everything going around for that kid right now. But I'm not gonna hype up the Eagles. I think we'll
have plenty of time to talk about the Eagles later on. Survival League. We got some people that made an exit this week, and that's never good to see. It's only week 3. People already have 3 strikes. I'm warning you guys. I'm out to play this year, and if I win, I'm keeping those prizes, man. I'm 3-0. I got my guest locked in for next week. You guys are gonna have to beat me to get the good stuff.
Spoiler alert, guys, and I won't do this to Adam, but I know what you guys. I know what kind of prizes.
We can drop them. We can drop the prizes if you want.
Oh, no. I want to keep it a surprise, at least till we get to when we have 5 or 4 people left. Like, hey, you guys made it this far. This is what you're up for. Adam is the ringleader on this. These are cool. These are good stuff. This is stuff that I actually want. I'm not going to play because I don't know. I'm not very good, first of all, but I don't keep up with that stuff. I only have one fantasy football team, for God's sake. But I'm just letting you know I'm not blowing smoke up your rear end. These are cool prizes. It's plural. So just keep that in mind for you guys that are still around. Make this edit. Make sure Adam loses.
That prize package for first place is nice.
It is. Pretty cool thing to just sit around and listen to a bunch of guys ramble about the Vikings. So
second place prize is pretty sweet too.
there you go.
I mean, it's not as good, of course, because you want that first place prize. But
it's a good idea.
When I saw it, I was like, "This is what I want to give somebody." And last year we got, I believe, Mr. Morley a nice Teddy Bridgewater jersey, and he loves and wears that thing everywhere. We gave him whatever jersey he wanted, and that's the one he won. Got it in his size, shipped it on over to him. He's been sharing us pictures of him in it, just walking around, showing his Vikings love, and I love it. I absolutely love that. And hopefully the stuff that I was able to pick out for you guys this year, as well as Kyle West has a nice little surprise for you guys as well.
Nice.
Or, well, whoever gets first place is going to get a nice little prize anyway. You're going to want to win this. You are. You're definitely going to want to.
I'm excited for whoever wins it. I stayed out of it because I'm pretty terrible. And I have bad luck with those. But you'd be well off to win that first place prize, even if you don't. Second place is pretty sweet. Those are good prizes, man. It's good job from Adam picking those out.
My hot take for the week is, why does my beard look like it's glowing orange? Look at this thing.
It's pretty
glowing.
You got the blonde going on top, it looks like, from the light, and then it just goes into this nice – it looks like – you look like you have a beard-colored beard, and I'm so jealous.
It is. It's amazing.
I think you need a sponsor for that. Oh, man. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep going on this. Adam looks frozen, but it says we're live, so I'm going to keep talking. Are you there?
Yeah, we're still good.
Okay, cool. Like, it kind of froze up a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. But,
I've been having internet issues all day. I'm surprised we lasted this long.
Well, I think we'll do some plugging now. Appreciate everyone coming into the chat and giving your opinion on everything and helping the conversation move along and bringing up different points. Because we're only 2 guys here, usually 3, so thanks for letting us see the other side of what you're thinking. I just want to say it was pretty cool yesterday, and I'm really proud of this. Go to the podcast page, look at the recent posts I put on there. So if you go to a game, you can check in the location of where you're at. So when we left, I decided to dab in front of the Panther logo outside, and I made it on the NFL Snapchat story for the Panthers game yesterday.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun yesterday. Shout out to, because we didn't talk about this during the show. There's been a lot of stuff. Charlotte's my hometown. I'm about 35 minutes from there right now, where I'm sitting in North Carolina, and I claim it because you guys don't know this little town that I'm at, but a lot of controversies going on about police brutality. A lot of crazy stuff happened. We're not going to get into that, but you can Google the story if you want. Very, very opinionated, very, very emotional topic. There were a lot of riots downtown, starting Wednesday, Thursday, and even going into Friday night. The National Guard was activated. The mayor was setting a curfew. A lot of outlets in the media want to give the Panthers that excuse for losing yesterday, which is not true. But I want to give a shout out to the police officers and the National Guard that came out yesterday. There's not a single hiccup. Everybody was high-fiving the cops, and I'm not saying that you have to be a super-duper police lover, but when these guys are out there when it's 90 degrees in full riot gear, making sure that you get in safely, it's a job that's thankless. And a lot of people were thanking the cops. Buying them water is coming up. We had a guy in between the 2 rows where I was at. The cops stood there the whole game at the nosebleeds, and people were bringing them water and food, and it was really cool, and it's a peace of mind thing because when people get opinionated and they start bringing their emotion in, they act pretty stupid sometimes. And we all do. I've done it before, so I've lost my temper based on emotion, and it's stupid. But I had a great time yesterday. There were only a few guys there that were annoyingly crap talking. I mean, I get it. If you're watching somebody come into your stadium and beat you up, I guess that would be pretty hard to watch. But they did really well yesterday. Carolina people are very, very sweet people, very, very nice. I connected with a lot of the fans around me, even though we were rooting for the opposite team. It's had a good time yesterday. If you guys get a chance to go out and see the Vikings play, do it. I was in an away stadium. It was kind of a hostile environment. I know Tommy Gunn knows about that being in Tennessee, but I had a great time yesterday. So thank you to everybody for being cool about it, and get out to a Vikings game this year.
I just want to add this about the Charlotte situation. Uh, I have been reading a lot about how it was a very peaceful protest and how the police and the protesters themselves kept their own way of doing things. And I'm not a political guy. I don't like to take a lot of sides on things where I don't have a lot of knowledge or personal experience in. But to see both sides of the situation be able to handle it in a nonviolent manner, yet to be able to make their point, is fantastic to see considering all the other stuff that's been going on around the world. And we can complain all we want about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee or protesters gathering outside a stadium, but this is all just non-violent ways of people to get their message across. And I personally have no problem people doing it this way. It's when people resort to violence or terrorism or threats to try to get their way that just makes me upset and frustrated for humanity. So hopefully this message can get through and people can understand what they're trying to say, and it can continue to not interrupt the everyday life of other people in the meantime.
Yep. Especially that last sentence you said. That's what I agree with and want to happen the most. Just don't interfere and impose your will on other people where it starts to become a problem. Obviously, the violence is what we're talking about, but
Yeah.
very well said, man. It was a crazy, crazy event coming up. I mean, I knew I was driving into it, coming in Thursday night. I was like, man, this is crazy. There wasn't anything crazy going on. There were some bad things that happened during the week because of what happened with the police and a traffic stop and everything that happened the other night. But overall, I mean, I agree with you, man. Just keep it peaceful. Keep it.
I mean, on Twitter, the picture was being painted that everything was all rowdy outside. All you
Yeah.
heard were people saying, "Oh, there are chants and loud noises and all this kind of stuff going on out there," and it painted this picture that there's a violent, hostile atmosphere out there when it didn't really appear like that was the case. Now, I'm not saying that the situation there in Charlotte had no impact on the game whatsoever. There's no way that those players on the field had no response whatsoever as to what was going on. But I do think that much like when other people go to their jobs or their work, they put that stuff in the back, in the rearview mirror,
Yep.
and do their job.
I saw that in a lot of the interviews up too. They asked Stefon Diggs. I think Jarrett McKinnon too, leading up to this game about it, and they dodged it. That was smart on them for dodging that question too. Hey, I'm focusing on the game. It'll take care of itself. Blah blah blah. But
Terrence Newman said, "Why are you asking us about this?"
yeah,
It's a good question. Why?
trying to
They're
get it.
athletes. They're not political people. They're not reporters. They're not. They're not. They're athletes.
All the media wants is to get a good take and a good headline.
Yep. They want a quote, a headline, and they want clicks. That's what they want. And I admit, I sometimes like fall into that as well over on the Viking Age. There are times when an article will come up and I think, boy, I can write a real clickbait headline for this, or I can spin this in a way that I can get people just all fired up. But I don't like to do that. I don't like to misrepresent people. I don't like to take people's quotes and try to interpret them. It's just frustrating to see that in a society where there's already so much negativity going on.
I have to tell you before we get off here, and we'll plug everybody's stuff real fast. We're playing the Giants Monday. I just received the notification. Their running back Shane Vereen is out for the season. So there's a little bit of a blow to the New York Giants depth at running back. So that'll be something interesting that we'll game plan for. I know they had big name wide receivers, Super Bowl winning quarterback twice, but we've got to have a running game. Shane Vereen was always an undervalued running back, so that sucks. We wish him a speedy recovery, but he will be out for the remainder of the season, starting with the game next week.
I believe we are only less than a month now away from the return of The Walking Dead, so head on over to Undead Walking. Give a like and a follow over there if you're into zombies. I've got the Viking Age going on. You guys probably already know all about that if you're here. Right now, I am the sole expert on the site. We're looking for a replacement to join me. Dan Zinski stepped down due to personal reasons, and I wish him the best of luck going forward. He was always a fantastic guy. Wasn't afraid to write controversial articles. Uh, some of the people commenting there absolutely hated him, but he always expressed his opinion and
And
tackled
we got people,
topics that I would be afraid to.
we got people to talk, and that's a major thing you got to do writing articles, man. We wish you the best, Dan. I was a big fan of his stuff.
Absolutely. So hopefully we can get someone in there to help me out and bring another nice voice to the page. Otherwise, at Purple People Pod on the Twitter machine, hit us up. I don't even know who's handling that. Same with the Facebook account. We got Tommy Gunn over there. Me and Mr. Smith hop on there sometimes to handle some of the messages. I believe you still got your music page up and running, right?
I did. I'm not going to promote my music page right now. I'm in the transition process of moving, packing, and all that. Once I get settled into Texas next month, I'll be moving to El Paso. If we have any Viking fans around or near the El Paso area, I will be there. I'll be out and about. Please find me. We'll go have a beer. We'll watch a game. It's the prime time football season. I'm not quitting music by any means. I'm just gonna focus on the move and this new area. I'm buying a home right now, so it's a lot of moving parts. But I do have a music page. I'll get that to you. Hopefully, I can get this stupid thing figured out where I get my headline back or my little. Well, I'm doing everything right on here. But I did restart my computer to factory settings recently. So I don't know if that's how to do it. But
I want mine too, but I'm on the Purple People Podcast account right now because Mr. West is usually handling this one.
speaking of, that's who I was going to segue to. I will promote Mr. West. He's an excellent photographer. Does all kinds of different portraits, and you can order them online. It's kylewestphotography.com. He's a Vikings fan. He does a show with us. He does a lot of nature scenes. I mean, you just have to check out his work, man, because he has a lot of stuff to choose from, and you can get it printed on. You can't get more than just pictures. You get stuff printed on T-shirts.
Yeah,
right?
one of the most popular items you got right now is that Stefon Diggs shirt.
Yeah, new Stefon Diggs design that he came up with is out, so you should check that out if you're a Vikings fan. If you just check his stuff out in general, you can get it printed on pretty much any fabric you can think of too.
You should be able to find something you like there.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's it for me, man. I'll let you do the sign off as per usual.
Like and subscribe to us on YouTube if you can, please. We really want to do this YouTube live stuff. Make sure you're getting your picks in over on the Survival League. I want one of you guys to beat me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to try. Last year, I think I picked the bottom option each week so that I knew I'd lose. This year, I'm not going to make it so easy on you guys.
It's a nice guy.
Because I like those prizes, man. I want those.
You guys will like them too. You should definitely try that out.
But I want to remind everyone that this Minnesota Vikings season so far has been hard yet fantastic at the same time. And we'll be back next week to talk about the game against the Giants. And remember, please, to stay classy, Minnesota, guys.